Hey guys, so I've been getting a few complaints about the sound in this, and since it seemed to bother you guys so much, I'm just gonna go ahead and redo this tutorial. So let's get started. Now we're gonna create a new project, basic Java application. We will call it Calculator Redo. And just click finish. Okay, so now in the source, you want to make sure you bring over that keyboard class. So we're just gonna go ahead and say copy and paste. And there we go. There's the new keyboard class. And let's go ahead and close all of these old ones. So we're working with our keyboard. This isn't the right one. Our keyboard, which is this. So you can freeze the video if you haven't seen this already. Just write it down and save it as another keyboard.java file inside the same folder that you're putting your calculator redo class in. And we will learn about if statements once again, because apparently that video was unbearably bad. So let's get started. So we have our main method right here, and inside it, let's make ourselves the keyboard. So keyboard equals new keyboard, and I'm gonna close that. And then we want our two doubles, which is num1 and num2. Now, as a refresher, doubles are just numbers, but they have decimal points in them. They can handle decimals, so that's why having a double for a calculator is a good idea, because you're not always going to be dealing with nice round integers. And then we want a char for our operator. And then we want to get input in, so num1 equals, now this is a bit different than the 6th tutorial was, because now we have our own keyboard class that we use for input. So that's going to make things a little bit different. So since we want double, well, okay, so if this was just a normal input, we would say keyboard dot read line, enter first number, and that would be that, right? And we would expect this to work. Well, but it doesn't, because what the problem here is that num1 is a double, whereas this gives us a string. And to convert a string to a double, or words to a number, what you have to do is say double dot parse double, and then put this whole thing in parentheses, just like that. Okay, and then we want to go ahead and ask for our char. So, oops, I'm going to say operator equals, again, keyboard.read line, enter operator. Oops. And this time, to convert that string to a char, we will just say char at index 0, which means the first letter or number, whatever it is, the first one, put it in this. We're only going to have one, because that's the way we're making our calculator. We're going to ask for either a plus sign or a minus sign or whatever. Okay, so that's that. And a char, again, is just like a string, except it's only with one character. You can't have like at in char. You would have to have a and then t. So that's the difference between a char and a string. Okay, and then for number 2, it's going to be the same thing as here, except we'll just change the input to second number. Save ourselves a little bit of time because we're lazy. Okay, and now comes the important part of the tutorial, the if statements. So to write an if statement, you have the condition that you want to be true, and then you have what it does if it is true. So we have if the operator equals a plus sign, we want to let's do double answer equals num1 plus num2, and then we want to say system.println system.out.println answer. And just to see if this works, we will go ahead and click on this little play button. No, do not continue. What's wrong over there? Unclosed string. We forgot our... these kinds of mistakes should not be happening at this point. Okay, there we go. So now it works. So it should work for our plus sign. So 5 plus 3 gives us 8. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so now we can do the same thing. We want it 4 times because we have our 4 basic operators. So we have the minus and the times, which is going to be an asterisk for us. And it's an asterisk there. And then the division sign. Oh, no, we don't want comments. And division. Okay. So now let's go ahead and see if that works. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so now we will enter our first number, and we'll say plus, or, we already did plus, but, okay, there's that. Now let's run it one more time. And we'll say 4 divided by, let's say 3, because it should be able to handle little decimals. Yep, that's right. And just take my word for it, it works for all of them. Okay, so that's one way to do this, right? We have a different if statement for each of the operators, but this isn't necessarily the most efficient way to do this, and I'll tell you why. Now, when it's working through, even if it, say we use a plus sign, so it'll go through this, and it'll say if the operator is a plus sign, okay, then it'll perform this. And then it'll still go through each of these if statements, even though it already said this was a plus sign and it should be fine. So now, in a program that's this small, it really doesn't matter, but in larger, more complex programs, it can save the computer a lot of effort if you just make a nice and efficient code. So to make it so that if at any point it hits one of these, it should not continue. Like, say if it is a plus sign that we're putting in, so it'll go through this, and then we don't want it to go through any of these. Or if it's a minus sign, so it'll test this, and then it'll test this, and then it say yes, this is the one, and so we don't have to go through the other two, and so on and so forth. So to do that, what we do is create an if-else statement. So an if-else statement is pretty much the same as an if statement, except at this closing bracket, after this closing bracket, we add an else. And then we start another. We can either just say if this, else do something else, or in this case, because we have more if statements afterwards, this can be an if else if statement. and that's a lot of else's and ifs, but what it essentially means is that you can move this if up to the same line as the else, and we can do that for each subsequent one. So else, and we just bring this up, oops, and else, and bring this up. So now the way this will work is if the operator is a plus sign, then it will perform these actions but not do any of the other else ifs. The elves. Yeah, it won't do any of the other else ifs. But if it's not, then it'll go on to the next one. And if it's a minus sign, then it won't do the two of these. And if it's an asterisk, if it's a multiplication sign, then it won't do the division. And if it's a division, it kind of has to do all of them. But still, it saves us a little bit of stuff, and it still works exactly in the same way. So if we were to go ahead and if you were to go ahead and run this again, it still works exactly the same way, and you still get that answer. Now, as I did in the 6th tutorial too, as you can see, we go through one thing, and then we have to start the program again to get another number, and that's usually not the way calculators would work. So what we can do to fix that is we can make a loop. Now, for this, we are going to use a while loop, because a while loop will... I'll show you why. So the way to do a while loop is you want to say while something is true. So while... Okay, let's do this. So we will make a boolean done equal false. Oops, false. Okay, so now while exclamation point done, and the exclamation point means not, and put that closing bracket after all your if statements, and we can say somewhere in here now, format, blah blah blah. Okay, maybe it doesn't have an auto format, but we can select all of these ifs and go into edit and format and say increase indent, and now it's all pretty. So while we're not done, and what the not operator does is it takes the opposite of this boolean, and I feel like I have a video on booleans, so you could look at that if you're still confused about it. But yeah, so while we're not done, we want to keep going through this loop. And so once we've given out the input, what we want to happen is for it to ask the user if they're done or not. So we can say, just to simplify things, we'll say, wow. Okay, string continue, well, we'll shorten continue to cont. String cont equals keyboard.readLine. Continue y/n question mark, or let's do a colon. Do you want to continue? And then we can use another if statement here. If cont equals a y, then done equals false. And now we can just use an if-else statement. Else, we want done to equal, we want done to be true. And this isn't necessarily testing if the letter is indeed N, but if it's not a Y, then we're just gonna let it die. Because we just don't care if the user can't follow these two simple instructions, a Y or N, whatever. So we can run this again. Oh no, I don't want to continue. What am I missing? The ever important semicolon. Let's run this again. Okay, so we have 5 divided by 63. And do you want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. This is... Oh, but it's not letting me continue. I wonder why. I'm not done. And that's that. Oh, because this isn't how you check for string equalities. You have to do that. What is it? Hold on, just a second. Okay, so I made a pretty rookie mistake by doing this 2 equal signs, but this gives me a chance to explain why 2 equal signs don't work. Now, cont is a string, and a string, since we've been doing all this stuff with classes, a string is its own class. It isn't a primitive, type, so you can't just do equals equals. You have to call on cont.equals and then in parentheses, and this will return a boolean that then the if statement can use to go through everything, and that works. And I noticed the while part can't be over there. It has to be all the way up here, because it has to be up there, because if it was down here, then what it would do is it would just run the if statements again, and it would never ask for input again, which is kind of stupid. So we can save that and stop the old one and run this again. No, what now? I forgot another. Okay, now run this again. No, I don't. What's going on? Because the done variable needs to be outside the loop, not inside the loop, for the loop to be able to use it. Now let's try it. Let's cross our fingers. Oh, and it works. Let's see. 5 plus 63 is, wow, 68. Yes, I want to continue. Oh my god, it works again. 2 times 5. 10. Oh, yes, I want to keep going. 56 minus 1 million. Oh my god, this is too much. I've got to stop. And there you go. It finishes. So, this is the basics of if statements, and I'm sorry about the 6th tutorial being so bad. And I'm sorry that it made some people angry and forget how to use grammar properly. But here you go, and I hope you enjoyed that. I'm sorry again. Remember to subscribe and like and comment if there's something you don't like about this, or if there is something you like about it. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.